You think ignoring gossip makes you noble. You think staying silent keeps you safe. You think laughing along helps you blend in. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every time you do any of those things, you're not staying neutral. You're silently saying, "This is fine. I accept this." And that tiny moment of quiet compliance changes how people see you and how you see yourself. Most people believe gossip is harmless, just a bit of social glue. But what if that small, harmless moment is actually teaching others how to treat you? What if it's shaping your reputation more than the things you actually say? See, gossip is never just about the person being discussed. It's about everyone in the room. When you listen without reacting, when you smile or nod, even politely, you become part of the performance. You become the safe audience for other people's negativity. And here's the tricky part. Once they realize you won't stop them, they'll come back. Not because they respect you, but because they know you won't challenge them. You've become the quiet one. And in social psychology, that silence equals permission. We think silence protects peace, but often silence protects dysfunction. So, what do you actually do when you're surrounded by gossipers? Friends, co-workers, even family. And you don't want to join in, but you don't want to look awkward or uptight either. That's what this video is about. I spent days studying real-world psychology, Stoic philosophy, and social behavior to answer one question. How can you stop gossip without confrontation and gain respect in the process? By the end of this video, you'll understand 3 things. Why gossip feels irresistible to our brains. 4 psychology-backed ways to shut it down smoothly. And 2 final tools for when you're done tolerating toxic energy. Because once you understand the psychology behind gossip, you stop seeing it as a trap and start using it as a quiet test of character. Let's start with a truth most people don't like to hear. Gossip wasn't born from cruelty. It was born from connection. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors survived by talking about each other. Sharing stories was how tribes built trust and decided who could be relied on. In a way, gossip was our first version of social glue. But somewhere along the way, that glue became poison. What once bonded us now divides us. Modern gossip doesn't create safety, it creates insecurity. It builds invisible walls, little circles of us and them. And when people gossip, they're not just talking, they're signaling. They're saying, "I want to belong," even if it means pulling someone else down. Here's the irony. Most gossip doesn't come from hate. It comes from fear. Fear of being irrelevant, excluded, or unnoticed. That's why the people who talk the most about others usually feel the least seen themselves. There's a concept in psychology called triangulation. It's when someone tries to pull you into a fake alliance by talking negatively about someone else. It feels flattering, like they're trusting you, like you're in on something. But here's the truth. If they gossip with you, they'll gossip about you too. Every time you say yes through silence, you're unknowingly agreeing to a contract, one where your peace and self-respect are the payment. And once people learn they can dump their negativity on you without consequence, they will. That's why people like Mel Robbins have a simple rule. I don't talk about people who aren't here. You don't need to announce it. Just hold it quietly as your inner code. Because once you live by that code, you stop seeing gossip as casual talk. You start recognizing it as a social game you never signed up to play. Now here's where most people get it wrong. They hear gossip, get uncomfortable, and try to shut it down directly. But the second you do, you're labeled as too serious, too sensitive, or, ironically, the next topic of gossip. Psychologists call this the backfire effect. When people feel attacked, they don't reflect, they double down. Gossipers rarely believe they're being toxic. In their mind, they're just being honest, funny, or bonding. So when you confront them head-on, it doesn't change their behavior. It just changes their opinion of you. The wise don't fight gossip, they refuse to enter the arena. You can't control other people's mouths. You can only control your energy and your response. And that's where real social mastery begins. Not in confrontation, but in calm control. Picture this. Someone starts bad-mouthing a coworker. "Sarah's so lazy. Did you see what she wore today?" Most people freeze or laugh awkwardly, but what if instead you said, "Really? That's funny. She's always been kind to me." And just like that, silence. You didn't argue, you didn't preach, you simply ended the game without playing it. Here's why this works. Gossip feeds on agreement. It's a psychological pattern known as the social bonding theory. People gossip to feel connected, especially when they're insecure. But when you stay calm and kind, you remove the reward they're unconsciously seeking, shared negativity. It creates cognitive dissonance, that small, uncomfortable moment when kindness collides with cruelty, and it forces the other person to rethink their tone. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Every time you respond with quiet grace, you're not just avoiding gossip, you're teaching people how to treat you. Sometimes kindness alone doesn't stop it. So they double down. Maybe she's nice to you, but you don't know what she did last week. Here's your move. Stay neutral. Could be, everyone has different experiences. Or, maybe she was just having a bad day. That's it. No defense, no offense. Just emotional neutrality. This approach is called reframing. You remove the emotional charge. You take the oxygen out of the fire. Suddenly, gossip loses its thrill because empathy kills judgment. And the moment you shift from us versus them to maybe there's more to the story, you disarm the entire dynamic. You're no longer part of the triangle. You've stepped outside the game. And that's where peace lives. Once the emotional tension fades, it's time to move the conversation. Just say something simple. "Anyway, did you see the new project update?" Or, "By the way, how's your team handling all these deadlines?" This is called topic shifting, one of the oldest techniques in social psychology. You don't embarrass anyone, you don't call them out. You simply guide the conversation somewhere else. Think of it like social Aikido. You redirect energy instead of blocking it. Over time, people start to realize something powerful. They can't pull you into the mud. And that quiet consistency earns you a reputation not of coldness, but of emotional maturity. Sometimes, the fastest way to kill gossip is with laughter, not mean laughter, but disarming humor. When the gossip starts heating up, just say, "Wow, this is starting to sound like a Netflix drama. I can keep up with all these plot twists." Everyone laughs. The tension breaks. Then, before the laughter fades, gently move the topic. Speaking of dramas, anyone watched that new Netflix show? Psychologists call this the relief theory. Humor releases social pressure and resets the mood, like hitting refresh on a tense conversation. Even Seneca wrote, "It's better to laugh at life than to lament over it." When you use humor wisely, you're not avoiding conflict, you're mastering it. You protect your peace, your reputation, and your energy, all in one elegant move. Let's be honest. Sometimes the person gossiping isn't harmless. They're draining. They don't just share stories. They feed off drama. And at that point, it's not about diplomacy anymore. It's about protection. Here's what psychologists recommend. The gray rock method. Act boring. One-word replies. Zero emotion. "Oh, really? Didn't know that." That's it. This technique is used for people who crave attention through negativity. When gossip gets no emotional reaction, it dies. Because gossip, like fire, only burns when there's oxygen. If that still doesn't work, set a boundary. Calmly, kindly. You don't need to lecture. Just say, "I'm really trying to stay in a positive mindset lately, so I'm avoiding talking about people who aren't here. Can we switch topics?" Yes, it'll feel awkward. Good. It should. That's how social correction works. Awkwardness is often the price of peace. If they pull away, let them. You're not losing a friend, you're losing noise. Here's the truth. Gossip was never about the person being talked about. It was always about you. Every time you choose not to engage, you're not being weak. You're being disciplined. You're training your empathy. You're protecting your reputation. You're choosing emotional intelligence over social approval. Epictetus said it centuries ago, you cannot control others, only yourself. That's the foundation of psychological strength, restraint. Because in a world where everyone's desperate to speak, the person who knows when to stay silent becomes magnetic. And remember this, you can't stop gossip from existing, but you can make it irrelevant to you. You can choose to be the observer, not the echo. The person who listens with wisdom, speaks with care, and refuses to join the noise. That's not coldness. That's power. And people can feel it, even when you say nothing at all. So tell me, when gossip starts next time, will you join the noise or master your peace?